Hi everyone, greetings from Whitehorse, Yukon. So I'm here to introduce my community practice presentation. Um, so basically, I decided to choose a community that's close to me personally. The community I chose was the Japanese community here in Yukon, and specifically, I chose the Japanese Canadian Association of Yukon. Now, this association has been around since 2009, and my family and I have been quite involved in the community since its inception. Um, I myself have acted as a board member and a vice president on a couple of occasions, and currently I'm not sitting on the board. Um, but how this kind of came about to think about um, looking at doing something within the Japanese community was just thinking about my experience being on the board and kind of thinking about um, how we've tried really hard to get membership views, a diverse, kind of compiling and understanding what the views are of the entire community. But to be honest, we've really struggled with that. I mean, generally, all we've really done is try to solicit via email on certain activities and thoughts and soliciting information that way, and don't get much response realistically. And then further to this, we generally just use annual general meetings to kind of set the tone what we're going to do for the year, talk about things. The issue with the AGMs are they're dull, they're boring, a lot of people don't come out to them. And then for those who do come out, generally, there's not much critical discussion. For one, the process itself of using Robert's rules and whatnot is foreign to a lot of people, and it is kind of awkward for a lot of people. Um, and for those who come from Japan, a lot of people have never used Robert's rules. It's just a foreign concept for a lot of people. And I would even say, even those who are non-immigrants, even when I think about myself before I became part of JCAY, I really struggle with Robert's rules, and I still do. But anyways, the reality is we haven't been very successful in gathering the views of the community as a whole. So what I had thought as an option was Photo Voice itself as a process. The reason I had thought that was it's on the surface when had first thought about it, I thought, okay, this is something where maybe people could critically reflect, have some pride about where they're at in their location, and get a sense of how we're gonna and use it basically as a tool, as an assessment for JCY itself on you know are we focusing on the right things? Is this what are we doing things that matter to the community? As I did more research on Photo Voice itself, like, it is a lot more involved process than just taking photos. Like, there is an actual process involved, and I mean, in a real nutshell, I mean, it involves people going out and doing their own photos, coming back, looking at the photos, kind of critically looking at that photo from more of an objective point of view, and thinking about, okay, where do they fit in the community? Like, how does the community impact me, and how the community should be responding and better supporting me? And then, all these individual kind of projects coming together and synthesized into a more greater kind of understanding of how the community affects them and how it should be responding to them. And in the presentation, I gave just a brief project showing like an individual's photo voice and then the synthesis of it. So, and then as I did the research as well, I realized it's actually a concept that came out of participatory action, which is um, the Freire is his name, and basically the concept is, instead of when you're doing research as a researcher, those who you're researching aren't objects. They actually should be, they should be part of that process, and that process should be meaningful, and they should be the one basically guiding that process. and it is founded in feminism, and I had thought feminism would be a good, basically a good theoretical framework to work within because I'm a man, B, I am white, so I have kind of one foot in the community but one foot out. So, and realistically, we've had a male president since its inception. It's very much um, executive focused, the JCAY, in making decisions, and I would say even more so the president himself is the one who really dictates a lot, and a lot of people don't challenge him, and it's harder to challenge him. I mean, he's been great, we've gone very far, but realistically, you know, it is it is very much president focus, and so I thought beyond feminism itself, helping me to kind of keep me from being the focus of this project and trying to engage other people. I think feminism is really appropriate because from what I see in the community, like there's an amazing group of women, especially mothers, who on their own have really just coalesced and they get together and they support each other and do some really amazing things. And I think at times their voices aren't heard, and at times I think it's hard for them to assert their views. So like what I've done so far is I do think it's really important to get the approval of the executive because it is so executive focused. So I did go to an executive board meeting at the outset of this project. I got their approval, and then from that, I actually had one of the members of the executive, who's a young lady, um, email me saying how she's really interested in this. So Yoko is her name. We've met, we discussed, we talked a little bit like where do you think we should go with this, and so we've kind of worked in partnership on this. It's still quite nascent where we're at. Like Yoko herself is going through a lot of stuff, and she's okay for me to talk about this. Like she had a very difficult birth to a child recently, and that's really impacted her. And I think and she had told me like this is why she kind of wants to do this. Now she has a child, and in some ways JCAY has a lot more meaning for her as well, and that's kind of my location as well. Like the reason why I'm there is, my son, I really want, and my partner as well. Like I just really want to ensure that they're connected to their cultural roots because, yeah, I really believe culture is really important. I have two parents myself who ironically can't speak their first language. My mother was born French, she can't speak French. My dad was born in the Netherlands, he came here as an immigrant, he can no longer speak Dutch. And so they're really, and actually my mother just found out that my grandmother was Métis, she had no notion about this, they were going through their cultural roots, no connection to any of that stuff. So, yeah, my location is I've never really been connected to my culture, and really not to my family because all of our extended families all lived far away. So for me, I guess I've kind of grappled onto this notion of ensuring that my son continues to stay connected to his culture. And so this is where it came from. So that's why Japanese Canadian Association is really important to me, and I really want to see it thrive. And so, yeah, through this process, I got a greater sense of all the diversity that exists in the community. Like, I think a lot of people, when they think Japanese, they think, oh wow, homogenous, right? Japan as a whole is one of the most homogenous countries, and even Japanese will maybe sometimes cite that. But here, I mean, we could go down that road, but here in Canada, I mean, through my research and going online, I got a real sense of the diversity that exists in the community. I mean, there really is a bit of a tension between we say the Nikkei, the people who are descendants of those who came to Japan, and those who went through the internment, the Japanese internment during World War II. Like that colors basically a lot of what it means to be a Japanese Canadian. So there's the National Association of Japanese Canadians. Like a lot of their focus is on internment and the redress, but I never really, I mean, we've done a lot of activities around that because our president is really focused on that, and I've never really fully appreciated that. So by doing my own research, I came to appreciate like the importance of that because I do think the greater pan-Japanese Canadian experience is really important to the Canadian experience, because the apology, the redress by the government, if I'm not mistaken, is one of the first official apologies. This that happened before apologizing for residential school. So, I mean, it's um, a huge moment in Canadian history. So it is important, I think, as Canadians, that we know what that that meant, or what it what the Canadian government did and what it meant to go through redress. And I do see the importance now of why we should hold on to that, the Japanese community. So, and then on oppositely, see here in the Yukon, the majority of the membership are immigrants. Whereas maybe in bigger locations like in Vancouver and Calgary, it is very Nikkei focused, meaning the descendants of those who went through internment. But here it's mainly immigrants. So that's a different kind of dynamic here. So anyways, I'll leave it at that. I hopefully you enjoyed my presentation. I know I've enjoyed it. It's helped me kind of get a greater appreciation for the Japanese community here in Whitehorse and just broadly in Canada. And I look forward to seeing where this goes. I know Yoko, who I've connected with, would like to try out this photo voice project, and so since I've opened that door, I go in there with the intent that I will be there to support and see where this goes. So okay, I wish you guys the best. Okay, bye bye.